Hi, I'm Joe Chapesky, System Plan Coordinator for the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission. In this tutorial, we will review the 2021 or fiscal year 2023 application for legacy funding for the GMRPTC. You can also contact me through my email on the website, gmrptcommission.com, if you have any questions. We strongly encourage you to let us know if you intend to submit an application so that we can do our best to help you be successful. After you submit your application, please contact me to schedule your site visit, which will take place in late July or August. Let's begin. First, you want to go to our website, gmrptcommission.org, and click on the Applications tab. Here's the Apply Here button, as well as the Application Toolbox. Application Toolbox is also located in the drop-down menu from the Applications tab. Note the application deadline for this year is April 1st, and it opens on April 1st and closes on July 30th. That deadline is firm. The system is programmed to shut down at that time and no further applications will be accepted. So if you have any technical issues such as bad internet connections or attachments that won't upload, I'm sorry, there won't be much that I can do about it if you don't have it submitted by July 30th. So make sure you're maybe a little bit early, get everything done. What you want to know before you begin. First off, only regionally designated facilities that parks and trails that are part of the Commission's regional system are eligible to apply for funding. A city or county in Greater Minnesota must be the applicant, whether you own the facility or are a joint partner in the designation. A resolution from your county board or city council for the agency that is applying for funding is required. Resolutions or confirmation letters from all match funding sources are required. You will have to submit a site plan that meets our specifications with the application, as well as a complete budget. Once submitted, we will conduct a site visit of your application during the review process. And also, good news this year, out of the $10.1 million we expect to have available, the Commission is setting aside a special allotment of $750,000 statewide for connecting people to the outdoors programming or accessibility projects for 2023. See the instructions for more details. All right, let's go to the application toolbox located here. Note the tools you want to look at under the funding application header. These are the key documents you want to review as you start to put together your funding application. If you have any questions, please contact me as soon as possible. First item to note is the funding criteria and guidelines listed here. Check to make sure that you have the most recently updated edition. This is the foundation document that guides our application process. Commission is likely to make some changes to this annually, so be sure to review it completely. The application may require a little more or a little different information up front than it has in the past. Study the scoring criteria located here starting on page 5 so that you can explain the project in a way that captures as many points as possible. There are differences in scoring between park projects, trail projects, and connecting people to the outdoors projects. This may help to clarify the scoring for your type of projects, for all types of projects, but especially CPO, connecting people to the outdoors projects. Be sure to follow and respond to the application guidance found on the first 2 pages of the guidance document. So the criteria for considerations for funding on page 1 applies to all projects. And there's additional application guidance for CPO projects on the second page. Make sure you know which pieces of your project are eligible for funding according to these guidelines and which aren't. There's a list of eligible items and ineligible items starting here on page 7, including the ineligible items on the last couple of pages, 8 and 9. Make sure you understand those items. Call if you have any questions. All right, next up, let's go take a look at our funding application instructions. This document lays out the same instructions as the online application itself, so this is an easy reference guide. This can be helpful for you if you prefer to write the answers out on your own word processing document before cutting and pasting into the online application. You don't have to do it that way. Many applicants actually complete their application completely in the online portal. Pay particular attention to the project contract deliverables note seen here in this box, which lays out the upfront project development and approvals that will be required for your project before grant funds are even received. Also make sure that your project mapping and schematic designs meet the requirements found in this document, which are listed a little ways down here, starting on page 6. Look at these requirements, make sure that you meet them with your maps and designs. This design does not have to be a final design or construction level documents, but it must be thorough enough that we can verify your project is deliverable and that you have appropriately considered accessibility and other requirements. Let's have a note also on the new item on here, non-infrastructure project management policy. This is a new document that has additional guidance for connecting people to the outdoors projects, as well as invasive species management, prairie restoration, or woodland management projects. If you will be involved in any of those types of projects, please look over that policy. Also included here is your budget spreadsheet and your project budget worksheet. This is a requirement for the grant. It's a downloadable Excel file noted here. We include a blank template, a sample, and a tutorial in the toolbox to help you create your project budget. All right. There is also included here your funding resolution, which must be completed by the qualified applicant's governing body, as we discussed. This includes both the resolution, which you can change to your own format, or the signature page, which helps to certify the passage of the resolution. All right. Once you get all that put together and submit your application in the online portal, you should know that there's a fairly extensive review process. As I mentioned, we'll conduct a site visit. Your application will be scored by staff according to those guidelines and the criteria. And the evaluation team will review the application before the commission considers it for prioritization and recommendation to the legislature. That process will start in August and is usually wrapped up in early December. No projects, however, are considered officially funded until the end of the legislative session next spring. Grant contracts with the Department of Natural Resources, who manages our grant contracts for us, may be signed as early as July 1st of next year, but quite often may take a few more months to have in place. All right, let's go back to the actual online application itself. Right here, the big Apply Here button. You should be familiar with this process if you completed your facility's master plan online. The look may have changed a little bit since then, but really is similar to last year. After you click your Get Started, you'll want to enter your email address and password. That is your login for the system. It's the same one, no matter who is accessing it for this particular application process. Once you have logged in, there's also a forget password. Should you forget, or just contact me and we'll help you get in. Here on your dashboard, you will see a list of all the facilities you have in our system or applications you may have applied for. We've got a sample park named P here, really creative, and the application ID number. Up here is a new application button. Do not click that. That is set to start a new designation application, not a funding application. You don't want to start that. You want to click on the application ID number here that goes along with the facility you want to apply for funding for. And here you'll see all the applications and master plans and funding applications that you submitted previously for that facility. You can review those at any time. You can also start a new funding application with this green button up here and click on that. You can see that we have already started one. All right, here it is. Funding 21. All right, and that's how you get into it anytime after you've started it. You can go back at any time. Note that there are 4 tabs across the top: General, Funding, Attachments, and the Submit tab that will show up now that the application process is open. You need to complete the required information in each tab prior to hitting Submit, or it won't let you do that. Do not hit Submit until you are sure the application is ready to go. That is on you. Don't make me cranky by asking for changes afterwards. I'm not saying I won't help you, but just don't make me cranky. All right, General tab. Note that the last update, your Parker Trail ID number and funding application ID, as well as the Parker Trail name and district, will auto-populate by the system. Double check to make sure that that happens, and then complete the existing acres or miles here for the park and trail in question. Next, go down to the park name. See this little blue button, I button, that's next to each item here on the application. Hover your cursor over that and you get information that is very important. Use that information. It's the same information you saw when you went through the funding application contents in the toolbox. You did go through everything in the toolbox, right? So everything else in this page simply goes through key basic project information. Pick out a simple descriptive name for this particular project, such as West Trail Segment Rehabilitation or Main Playground Development Phase 2, whatever it may be. For your project description in the larger box here, this is your chance to explain to us precisely what the project will do, what you're going to build, replace, or improve. Make sure you're clear and hopefully concise. Check the funding criteria and guidelines and be clear on how your proposed project meets those guidelines and criteria. Please add pictures where you can so that all reviewers can understand the project site and how their proposed improvement or program fits in. You don't have to capture all of the points, but because no one will, but make sure to get all the ones that are relevant to your project. Also, see the little double boxes, such as here under project description? Those give you the ability to link certain sections to your master plan. They aren't required, but we encourage their use where certain component or section or item in the master plan helps to tell the bigger picture story of how this project fits into your overall vision. Do not use these links to supplant detailed project information in the application. The master plan should support your project, but we expect that there is more detail in your project application than the master plan. Here's how it works. Say you've got your project description here and you want to show that this is the same project that's described in the master plan itself. Click on the little double box. Up will pop your master plan. Scroll through to the appropriate place in your document, in your master plan document, to show that you really do have that item there. Maybe it's the development feature, and find that item and the double box associated with it, and click the double box in the master plan. When you click that, it will add an anchor to the master plan and to the application. So now when you or I or anybody else goes through your online application and clicks the little now green box, up will pop the master plan. It'll go straight to that development feature or whatever it is that you're highlighting for us. So that will save you a little bit of description. Also here is where you add project maps as well as facility plans. Both of those items are required, by the way. One is the project map showing how the project fits into the overall park or trail system and the neighborhood. The other is a site plan showing a level of design detail that will allow us to judge the project and verify that you are on track with design guidelines and that the budget makes sense for what you want to build. Click these blue bars for additional instructions, as the requirements are a bit more detailed than they maybe have been in the past. Next, fill out the basic applicant information. Make sure that the official applicant is the city or county in Greater Minnesota that will be managing or fiscally responsible for the project. Hit save or continue, or just click the next tab. This next one is the funding tab. The information required in the description section, first section, helps us to understand the size and scope of the project. What's its development type? How many acres or miles will be acquired, and so on. If there will be a connecting people to the outdoors programming component, make sure that your goals for number of activities and the number of attendees are clear. For any boxes throughout this application that aren't relevant to your project, please put an NA or not applicable in the box. This will help make sure you've at least considered the item and aren't missing anything when you submit. Under project outcomes, tell us what the project will accomplish from a user perspective. We want to know not only what facilities will be built or improved, such as number of campgrounds, feet of beach, etc., but who it is going to impact and how. Make sure you speak to who will be coming to your new feature or programs and from where. What will the perceived quality of the facility be compared to others in the region? How does this project create a complete experience for users? And how will you know if the project is successful? Next, select which legacy pillars your project supports. Read the details in the I button, located here, or learn more in the Parks and Trails Legacy Plan, which is also linked right here. Choose only those pillars that are actually supported by the particular project. More is not necessarily better. Quality counts. And tell us why in the box down below it. Tell us about the connection to the master plan. How does this project help it become a regional draw? Be sure to use the master plan link tool for this item in particular. It shows exactly where this project is discussed and what the impact will be within the bigger picture. Tell us as well about the implementation timeline. Note that if selected, you will want to begin your background and environmental work right away in the spring, but you can't begin any officially funded project work until your grant contract with the state is completed, which could be as early as July 1, but realistically could be sometime in the fall. Take your construction seasons into consideration. There's a 3-year window. All right, availability for public use. Remember that this is state funding. Legacy is state dollars. There are requirements for public access to the facility listed in the I button. Be sure to read the guidelines and tell us about your use guidelines and requirements for the facility, including any user fees. Talk a little bit about design standards. Tell us about the design standards that will be used for the final project design and construction, and the professional responsible for that design, as well as any project oversight. Be sure you understand your obligations regarding the Americans with Disability Act. Links are provided here under the Statement of Accessibility. Contact us with any questions. Next is your project cost breakdown. This is where you can tell us how much the various project components cost and what those component roles in the project are. Sort of an extended version of what's in the worksheet for descriptions. A good breakdown will follow that order in the project budget worksheet so that reviewers can follow along and understand each component. Note that the project budget is best if developed by a licensed professional. This is to protect you so that you don't end up with a project you don't have enough funding for. Don't let unexpected wetland mitigation, substandard design, or inappropriate material selection sink your project for lack of funds. Next is the section with the funding request breakdown, where you give us the basics of the budget. How much are you asking for? Where's the match coming from? What are the non-eligible items, which are listed in the guidelines, remember? How big is the total project? A couple of items to note. Use basic whole number currency formats, no decimals. Local match means any funds developed by the agency that aren't legacy, includes all local donations and government sources and so forth. They must all be accounted for, affirmed, and documented. Pledges or applications for funding do not count. A letter of support or commitment from each source must be attached. Remember, you can't match state legacy dollars with other state dollars. Local in-kind contributions of labor and materials do not count. Only cash contributions can be used. Non-eligible project items must be accounted for, but do not count toward the project match. See the funding criteria guidelines for lists of eligible and ineligible items. You can break them out here and in the budget spreadsheet. Also, for the funding request resolutions, each official partner defined as a city or county in Greater Minnesota that is a part of the project must pass an official resolution by its governing body. Remember, those samples are in the toolbox. Typically, a joint project will include one lead agency that will handle the project contract and oversight, with the potential for one or more supporting partner agencies. Your budget worksheet can be uploaded here. A template is attached here as well and completed according to the tutorial in the toolbox. Your appraisal, if you have an acquisition for a park or trail project, must be completed by a professional that meets state standards, which are also included here in the I button. No other estimate of the acquisition property will be accepted. State guidelines for acquisitions apply. Don't get hung up on that. All right, we'll save and continue and go on to the Attachments tab. As you've completed this application, you've attached a number of documents throughout it, including descriptions, resolutions, maps, site plans, and more. If you've had a chance to link your application to relevant components of the master plan, great. This tab is your chance to complete the story with any additional relevant attachments. Most helpful are pictures of the site or samples of the design you want to build. Please be sure to label your pictures. You may also have letters of support from various local entities or new data that shows just how many people use your trailer campground. If it helps the story and builds your score, please include it here. Finally, the Submit tab. Make sure at this point you've gone back over the application and made sure that all of your information is included. If you want to have a friend or a boss check it, you can generate a PDF export that you can simply email to whomever or store it for yourself, and make sure that the attachments are really attached. Finally, all that is done, you're ready to submit. Please do so. If you've completed all the boxes in the other tabs, these red bars will turn green, and the Submit Funding Application button will turn the dark blue. You'll be able to submit. So please do so. We look forward to hearing from you. Let me know if you have any other questions. We look forward to seeing you on your site visits soon. Thank you, and have a great day.